Hey, Bomb Squad. If you're a comedian or a podcaster looking for an affordable website solution with a modern look, then we recommend Pucks Hub. With a Pucks Hub website, you can set up your new website in minutes with easy-to-use pre-built templates. Pucks Hub websites are customizable and can easily be integrated with other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. The best part? Pucks Hub plans are only $5 per month. We use Pucks Hub for our website at the Art of Bombing podcast, and we think you should too. That's why we've partnered with Pucks Hub to offer listeners a free 60-day trial. Head over to puckshub.com to subscribe and use promo code AOBPOD at checkout for your 60-day free trial, and then pay only $5 per month after that. Take your career to the next level with your own Pucks Hub website today.
Dan Bublitz Comedy Productions.
A happy demotion. That's what's coming up on the Art of Bombing episode 273.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Art of Bombing. It is me, your host, Dan Bublitz Jr., and with me, as always, is my co-host, co-producer, cohort, Josh Shirley. How you doing, Josh?
I'm good. I think I'm starting to think that I am the cooler at airports. And here, let me be specifically.
You're what?
Like the guy, like there's like this sort of, I guess I want to call it an urban legend where casinos hire like a really unlucky person to walk around, and like so when a craps table's heating up, he'll go and stand there and like cool it down.
Oh, that's what you mean by a cooler. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, it's a tough. It won't make sense until I explain that like the last 3 flights I've gotten on to travel have all been like severely delayed, like 3 in a row. It's
Wow.
insane. Like, and 2 of them had connections to another place. And then, of course, the flight that I'm connecting to does not get delayed, so I miss that. They put me on another one, it gets canceled. And then, like I'm arriving everywhere really late lately.
Oh no, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Yeah,
That's a bad sign. That might be the universe telling you to stay home, Josh.
maybe so. Yeah, maybe
Oh.
so.
Yeah, that's never fun when you have a connecting flight and then the first flight gets delayed, because then you have to, when you
Right.
get to that other airport, it's all kinds of chaos trying to find a new flight, and
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and sometimes you run into the situation where they don't have another flight for another day.
You're like, well, I'm
that's
gonna rent that car then because I got to be there.
yeah,
And,
that's it wasn't even like for a comedy or work trip, but my fiance and we went to a wedding in San Diego a few years ago. Well, and I'm part of that going out there as I was officiating the wedding, but coming back, our flight got canceled for fog, and
yeah.
they weren't there, and it was a flight from San Diego to Omaha, and they didn't have any more flights that day. Like it was going to be a couple of days before we could get another flight. And so what we ended up having to do was just bite the bullet, because we had to get back for work and stuff. We ended up just biting it financially, getting tickets and flying into Kansas City, renting a car in Kansas City, driving to Omaha to get our car. So,
Yeah.
and then driving from Omaha home. So it ended up
Yes.
being like a 16-hour day of travel. It was probably the worst day of travel I've been part of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Flights are really convenient until they don't take off, and then you realize you're 3,000 miles from where you need to be. Yeah, that's really tough.
It is. It's interesting that you started talking about travel, because in this today's episode we have Thomas Nichols, who's been traveling a lot more for comedy. He's trying to get out there, work the road more, and we talk about that because he likes to use. He'll bring his electric scooter with him to try to use that to get around the towns that he goes to visit, so he doesn't have to spend money on driving his car everywhere.
Yeah, this is a great episode for people who are listening for more thrift.
Yeah.
I got to find ways to be smarter with my money. You guys go into that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that, on this week's callbacks episode, that's what we're going to be kind of diving into just to give you a little peek into that. We're going to be talking about saving money and talking about how you should analyze your set if you're the MC versus how you would analyze your set if you're just on the show. Because those are two things that come up in this episode with Thomas. So that's what's going to be coming up on this week's callbacks episode. But yeah, we had a great conversation with Thomas. After you listen to this conversation, if you enjoy Thomas and you want to maybe connect with Thomas and see him at a live show, he's busy. He's got some stuff coming up all over the country. You can see him June 16th in Minneapolis at the Crane. I know that venue very well. The Crane is a great venue in Minneapolis for comedy and music. Go check him out there if you're in Minneapolis. June 22nd, he's going to be at the Looney Bin Comedy Club in Wichita, Kansas. And then June 30th and July 1st, he'll be at Laughs in Seattle, Washington. So he's like all over. Like those aren't even like close to each other. You know what I mean?
You might have some delayed flights getting around with that.
Don't be, with your bad luck, don't be wishing that on him.
I won't be traveling with him,
Don't
Thomas.
be giving him that kind of a bad omen, all right?
Thomas, if he sees me get on the plane, he's going to be like, well, I'm just going to go rent a car right now because this plane's not taking off. We're going to get an announcement 20 minutes from now while we're out taxiing to the runway that the nose cone isn't screwed on right and they got to turn around.
Yep, that's probably smart on his point. Yeah, and then next week's episode is going to be really fun too, because next week's episode is our 6-year anniversary, and we will be coming. Well, mostly just me will be coming live from the Chief Comedy Festival and Train Tour down in Trinidad, Colorado. We're doing a live podcast recording as part of the festival. Very excited about that. The taping is actually Friday, May 5th, 3 p.m. If you're a comic that listens to this and you happen to be going to that festival, you should come be part of the audience. If you're a fan of comedy and you're going to be at that festival and somehow you're listening to this podcast, come to that show. It's going to be a good time because it's free. So it's free to come watch the podcast. And what we do when we do the live, it's a little bit different than our normal shows because the comics actually do live stand-up on the show. And then then they tell their bombing story, and we, kind of talk a little bit about that. But we have multiple guests. So we have a bunch of comics that are going to be on it. We have 4 comics that'll be on it, and it's going to be a good time. So if you're in Trinidad, May 5th, come to the Art of Bombing live. If you're not, be ready to hear it on Monday, May 7th. 8th, May 8th. I don't know my dates because it'll be coming out that next Monday. So a week from today when this episode comes out with Thomas Nichols right now. All right, there we go. Do you have any announcements you got to make, Josh?
No announcements today.
No announcements for you? Well, I think that's enough of our chit chat. Maybe we should get into this show. Should we?
We should.
All right, here we go. Here's our conversation with Thomas Nichols. Enjoy.
And now it's time for the stand-up soundbite.
I'm excited to be here, man. I'm really excited just to be inside. It's freezing outside right now. I'm not a fan of that, man. It's too cold outside. I don't like any kind of cold weather. I don't like any degrees below my grandmother's age. Like, I'm not a fan of the cold, man. I learned about the cold when I went to New York. I went to New York in January, and that was a stupid idea. I would never do that again. It was freezing. It was too cold. It was so cold I got pulled over, and the cop got in my car and wrote me the ticket. Like, no, open this door. We're going to talk about this ticket. Come on, turn your heat on. I can't write with cold hands. I don't like the cold, man. I'm just not built for it, you know? Like, I'm too skinny. You know? Don't get me wrong, though. Like, I enjoy this. I enjoy being skinny. I enjoy having my Saturdays off, not helping my friends move. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoy that. And nobody's calling me to move anything, you know what I mean? Call Thomas for what? To move pillows? Tell him to bring a pizza. The only bad thing that comes with being skinny is that you get judged differently by women. That's the only bad thing that comes with being skinny. Yeah. Because a woman loves a dude with some type of muscle, with something, right? Like if a woman sees a buff dude outside right now, and outside he's like lifting up a truck. She's like, oh my God, that's so sexy. I'm not gonna give up my number, oh my God. If you saw me outside right now, lifting up a truck, like a woman look at me and say, see, that truck could not be that heavy. No, like I could do that with the Red Bull. Like I accept the fact that my body is only built for two things, and that's it. One, being a stand-in for like a Feed the Children commercial. And two, sneaking into gated communities. That's the only thing my body's built for, man. I can squeeze through a gate, it's nothing. Put me in jail for what? I'm gonna get right back out.
It's the art of bombing.
So you had a show this last night. We were talking just briefly before we started.
Yeah.
Which I haven't done that show. I've heard good things about it.
It's at a small improv theater, which I like performing in personally. I think improv theaters are cool because they almost open for anything type of deal. So
oh, absolutely. And a lot of them, because they're so small, even if you don't have a ton of people, it feels like a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's like nice and tight.
So I like improv theaters. I think they're cool. The show was cool. I think it was just like we were all cold. I was cold anyway, and they still had their jackets on during the show, so it was kind of
chilly.
Yeah, it was cold in there. So
well, and it snowed yesterday here.
Was that yesterday?
Yeah, it snowed yesterday. Yeah. Or no.
Oh, yesterday was? No, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It snowed yesterday.
Yeah, Monday morning.
Or it snowed, like
through
through Sunday night and then Monday morning.
A lot, too.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So
but what's
surprising.
crazy is that a lot of it's already melted. And that's what I love about Colorado.
Dude, I had to get up and go to work. And, usually when I get up and it's snow, the streets are clear. It was nothing clear. I feel like it caught everybody off guard. So
Probably
I just had to drive in the snow, man. It was cool. It was cool.
what kind of car do you drive? Is it get around the snow all right? Or
It does, actually.
Oh,
it does.
that's
Honda
good.
Civic 2017. I love my car. I love my car so much. And me and that car over the last 4 years have been through a lot.
Yeah. And there's when it comes to comedy, your car is like an important tool.
Oh my God!
It's not even more than a tool. It is a relationship that you have to have.
There's some people that do comedy and don't have a car, and I'm like, how are you?
It blows my mind. Those people. There's people that can't even drive that do comedy. I'm just like, how does this work?
How do you go? What are you doing? That's a lot of money you're spending because you're paying Lyft, or you're trying to bum a ride over somebody else,
or you're constantly trying to get somebody a guest spot so they'll drive you.
That's a lot of talking too. That's a lot of talking. I don't want those conversations.
It's a lot of pressure for trying to get that done
on time too. You got to be there on time. Oh my God!
Right?
Just get a car already.
Exactly. Get your license. Get a car, and get to your gigs. And you've been doing quite a bit lately too. A lot of road stuff.
Got some more coming up.
That's good. Yeah, I know. I saw that you're going to be up in my old stomping grounds.
Yeah,
South Dakota.
Looking
I saw
forward
you
to
got that. You're going to be at the comedy room.
Wooden Leg?
Yeah, Wooden Legs Brewing. It's
Yeah.
the Leary Comedy Room.
That's April 21st to the 22nd, I think.
Oh, that'll be a fun time.
I'm looking for that.
It's
man.
It's a fun room. I enjoyed it when I was up there. Oh, yeah.
That's a nice 10-hour drive. I'm going to be driving that, man. Because since I moved to Fort Collins, I moved here maybe like a year ago. And then before that, I lived in Phoenix for the 2 years. And then that's when COVID happened. So I lived in Phoenix for COVID years. And before that, I lived in Seattle. And I lived there for like 3 years. And I would drive a lot when I was in Seattle. I was doing a lot of road work. I was on the road all the time. And I loved it because I liked driving.
Yep.
And then I moved to Phoenix. Didn't drive at all. I think I did one long drive when I went from Phoenix to Dallas. I did that drive. That was about 15 hours. And I did that. And then that was it for like 2 years. And then we went from Phoenix to where we are now, Fort Collins. And I haven't drove since.
Oh, wow. So you haven't. So all the gigs that you've been doing, you've been flying to?
I've been flying or relatively close. Like when I say a drive, I mean like.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, a good 5 hours or something.
Like a drive. You have time to listen to some podcasts. Do some thinking.
Yeah, exactly. They got some bits real quick. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had that. I only do I probably had I went to Colorado Springs a couple times, which is like 2 hours for me.
Yeah.
That's not enough. You know what I mean? So I got this 10-hour drive, this whole trip I'm actually excited about because to be driving 10 hours is going to be dope. And then the following week, I go to New Mexico the following week to do dry heat for a one-nighter. I think that's a Saturday. I forgot the exact date, but I'll be down there, and that's about 7 hours. About 7 hours.
Yeah, about 7 hours. It's a easy drive too, because you just straight down the 25. Yeah, that was great. So it wasn't comedy related. It was, I went up to Montana this last weekend to help my cousin with some stuff, because he's doing like a web show thing for a sports team. And I went up to help do some consulting and help him with show him how to use some equipment and stuff like that. And so I went up to Montana, and it's pretty much just a straight shot up the 25, up I-25, and then another straight shot over on I-90. So it was just beep, beep. Such an easy drive.
So amazing. Because you don't have to really think too much about the road once you think in your head what's going, what you want to do.
Yeah, you just have to stay going, make sure you're not swerving. And
loud music. That's it. Loud music, Red Bull, and some beef jerky. I'm good to go. That's all I need. Like some jerky links, beef jerky, peppered. Oh, come on.
Oh,
man.
I love me some pepper jerky. Sweet and hot and pepper jerky. My two faves.
Amazing.
I love it.
Some of the best road snacks.
Back in the day, long before Dan was even thought about being a comedian, I actually worked at a company called LSI, and they were basically a Jack's Links jerky plant. They were a jerky plant. So I ran these. I operated and did maintenance on these overwrap machines. Yeah. So the machines that package the jerky and make those bags, I ran them. On. Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, every night you bringing a bag home. Every night, easy.
Yeah, you could get. They got where you could get discounts on stuff, but not these little bags. You could get a 20-pound bag of jerky real cheap.
That's a lot. It
is a lot.
That's a lot, man. But it never goes back. It lasts forever.
Exactly.
And that's what's so weird about it, though. That is the weird thing about beef jerky. I have you got a time span with me. If I could buy some beef jerky, I got about a week to finish it, or I'm over, because it's already weird that it's packaged like that.
Yeah.
So by the end of the week, I'm disgusted with. I gotta get rid of this. This should not be in the car.
Even though it's probably just fine.
It's probably just fine.
With all the preservatives, it's just fine.
Too paranoid. Gotta get rid of it.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me ask you this: when you go on a long car ride, when you're doing a gig or whatever, are you balls to the walls, just drive, stop only when you need to, or do you like to take your time and kind of just kind of take it all in? Because I personally, I'm a balls to the walls kind of guy. I drive I drive, and then if I need to stop for gas, that's when I go to the bathroom. I'm not making extra stops if I don't have to.
It kind of depends, man. I remember I guess when I get more on being on the road, I would make trips. When I go to South Dakota, for example, when I go do that room, I'm gonna take a couple days just to, not necessarily to do it, but I can plan on my way there, because I can't necessarily say I will be back immediately. So
yeah, exactly.
So when I did this a lot, when I would go from when we drove from Seattle down to Phoenix at that time, I did plan stops. Of course, we're not going to do that all the way through, but I planned stops like, in a couple hours, going to hit this gaming store right here.
Yeah.
A couple hours, going to hit this comic book store. Let's stop here for like an hour, and then we're going to sleep here. And then, I would do that kind of thing. And I do the same thing when I do South Dakota. That's a 10-hour drive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm passing so much.
Yeah, it's actually probably a little more than 10 hours, I feel like.
It will be.
Yeah.
Stopping.
Because, even just to Brookings, I think it's a little more.
That's
Because
fine.
it's like 10 hours to get to my hometown, which is Huron, which is like an hour from Brookings.
Gotcha.
An hour closer to us. So, but either way, yeah, it'll be a fun drive. I will recommend you brought up comic book shops, gaming shops.
Yeah, I'm stopping at those easy, dude. They have the best stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Because
And-
nobody seems to go to those towns to stop unless you live there.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm going to say this: while you're in Brookings, you want to go to the Brookings Book Company. It sounds
Brookings
you're like,
Book Company.
oh, that's a
Okay,
bookstore,
okay.
but
I
they
gotcha.
they are a bookstore, but also they are a comic book store.
Of course they are.
So it's Brookings Book Company. I don't know if they added and comics or not, but it's the Brookings Book Company.
Okay.
It's downtown Brookings. Huge selection
I
of
do that all
comic
the time.
books. Lots of fun stuff there. Yeah.
Because you got to
The owner,
Google.
Rich, is a really nice guy and everything.
You got to Google where comic book stores are near you. You got to Google where arcade is near you, and you got to Google where a gaming store is near. I have to do that every time. If I'm stopping and I stay there for sure, I'm Googling that easy because if an arcade is walkable, I'm there, most of the day.
Yeah.
And then I just go back, sleep, and then wake up and go do the show.
Yeah. Do you go to the barcades or just like any arcade?
It don't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It don't
As long
matter.
as there's games
Yeah.
to play.
It does not matter to me. I'm there. 'Cause
Are you like, what kind of games are you? Like pinball or like actual arcade games?
I'm definitely a Frogger dude.
Okay.
Like, I have to beat the high score in Frogger before I leave. That's a fact. Like, there's no way I'm leaving wherever I'm at until I beat the high score. And the thing about arcades now, they've reset the high score all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can beat it one day, go back, and it's like 0 again. It's like, okay, well, I got to start this over again. But, Frogger, Rolling Thunder is another one I can't pass up. I got to play that game. But a lot of platformers, though. Are those considered platformers? No, side scrollers. I guess those would be considered.
Oh, yeah.
More than anything else.
Yep.
Like the Simpsons game, of course, you got to play that.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
So you're
of
more
course.
on the arcade side.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dude, that new Ninja Turtle game, actually, that just came out not so long ago, Shredder's Revenge, is amazing.
Is it?
It's amazing, dude. It's easy to play, by the way, but from the way the gameplay is to the soundtrack, hands down, perfectly done.
Oh, wow. And that's an arcade game, or is that out on a platform?
It's on a platform. It's
okay.
on PC. You can get it on
PC. Oh, okay.
or,
Well, yeah.
stuff like that. But that game is amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. It's funny that you're talking about video games because I just got the adapter I need so I can hook up my Nintendo 64.
What you playing on this season? What you playing, man?
Well, let's see. I've got
Smash?
No, I don't know if I got Smash. I have to look because I have a bunch of games. I bought from a friend, and I had a bunch of games. But I'm a GoldenEye, Perfect Dark.
Okay.
Those are two of the games. That WrestleMania 2000 is one that I'm.
Okay. Because I couldn't get with shooting games on 64. If it was on PlayStation 2, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Or PlayStation, that's a different conversation.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
the
love those
controller was
shooting.
weird for me for shooter games on the 64. But Super Smash, if you got that, I got that at the house actually.
Oh, nice.
So whenever you want to, whenever you want to lose, man.
Well, that's pretty much it because I've never been good at the fighting games.
Okay. I just started.
I'll admit that right now.
I just started.
Not good at fighting it. Never have been. Never have been. I've always been more of either the sports games or like the shooting type games.
I mean, I can try Perfect Dark now. I don't know how I am now. It's been so long since I played a shooter on the 64. I'm sure I can probably figure it out, but.
Oh yeah,
man, yeah.
Yeah, I used to be pretty good at that, but then again, that's all I did was play video games. That was like
that was the thing to do, man.
It was a thing to do.
Take this. That's the one thing that was great about having a car, because you can put the system in the car and then you can leave.
Yep,
you can go stay wherever you are. They give you a condo, whatever, and then you just hook up the system and just play till the showtime. And I did that a lot. I played a lot of Silent Hill. I played a lot of Shadow Man. I played a lot of a lot of shooters too, man.
Do you do that now? Do you bring your system with you?
Yeah, my PS3 will be in the car because I don't really bring. Because my latest system now is the PC. So and I skipped over the PS4, and I'm not getting a 5. So I just bring the PS3. Most likely, you know what? I'll probably bring the PS2 because I got some games on PS2 I haven't beat.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'll probably bring it this time around. And then, if I can drive there, which I'm doing, I'm going to take the PS2 with me. And
that's something I thought about doing I have a Nintendo Classic, so I thought about bringing that too because with the, it can hook up to pretty much any TV. So
it's
take
so
it with,
perfect,
sit in the hotel, play.
It's so perfect. I used to pack, when I used to go on the road, I used to pack a scooter, an electric scooter, and I would have just the gaming system with me. And I packed the electric scooter mainly because, sometimes you don't know exactly where the venue is.
Yep.
To the show. Like it might be downtown, it might be, somewhere where you got to pay for parking, but parking for free is like far away.
Yep.
So I can park far away for free and then just take the scooter to the venue.
Yep.
And I don't have to pay for parking at that point. So
that's smart. I thought about doing something similar with getting like an electric bike.
It's convenient, man.
Yeah, but not like one of the portable, like the fold downs. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that you can easily fold down and take with you.
It's so convenient.
Yeah, because same reason too, because you never know where you're going to be, and sometimes even if you are close, or you could drive to the venue. Sometimes it's just nice not to have to worry about your car.
100%.
Leave it at the hotel where it's it. Hopefully it's safer.
It should be.
It should be. Yeah, exactly.
It should be. It should be. It should be.
I mean, can't give it a 100% guarantee, but
Hey,
it should be safe if you can leave it at the hotel.
Second home there. It got to be safe.
Exactly.
Slept in my car so many times. That's one thing I like about that car too. It has the automatic start on it. So if I'm asleep and it's somewhere cold, I can start it up automatically. I can still be laying down, start it up, and then to turn the heat on, and then it'll go off. That can be like 12 minutes or something.
Oh,
and then
wow.
It's like, cool. I'm good for the rest of the night. Like
that's convenient.
It's so convenient, dude. Fucking love that car, man. Oh, God.
Well, like you said, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you need to have a good car when you're out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to hit all the things. It's got to be comfortable. Get good gas mileage, and
Honda Civic.
Mostly,
17.
it's got to be comfortable when you're sleeping in it, because as a comedian, you're going to be sleeping in your car.
At least one night.
At
you're gonna
least
be doing
one
that.
night, exactly.
At least.
I've definitely spent many a nights in my car. That's for sure.
But one thing that's convenient now is that you have Airbnb. Airbnb wasn't a big thing until like COVID years.
Yeah,
which was weird, by the way. That we actually was like, you can stay the night in my house. You might have COVID. It's fine. Like that was weird.
Right.
But before that, like 2 years before that, it was no such thing as Airbnb. Like it existed, but nobody knew about it.
Well, and that's interesting that you bring that up, because I find, and I don't know, maybe you're finding this differently. Are you finding that Airbnbs are cheaper than hotels? Because
100%.
Because I've noticed with a lot, and maybe I just, in full disclosure, it's not like I stay at a lot of Airbnbs or look it up, but one thing I've noticed is that it seems like a lot of Airbnbs seem cheaper until you add all the cleaning fees. Like they'll have these hidden fees, and then after all these fees that are included, you're just as well go stay at a hotel.
Well, I mean, I can't agree.
But I'm not. Like I said, I'm not saying that.
I got
I'm
you.
just
Because
an expert.
I've definitely spent like 4 days in an Airbnb, and it was only like $200. And it was a good Airbnb. Granted, you sharing it with somebody, like some random motherfucker. That's the only difference between.
Oh, so you're talking
Airbnb.
like doing like a room.
Yeah.
Like a room
I'll rent out a room.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just me. Usually when they, when you book a room by yourself and it's just you, then they'll put you they list a bunch of Airbnbs where it's just going to give you just a room in a house.
I gotcha.
Now, if you've rented it for more than 2 people, they probably give you the whole house. So you're going to end up paying for that way. Which costs a lot more. Yeah. Et cetera, et cetera.
And that's probably what I'm looking at.
Yeah. But if you go by yourself, you probably spending like an average $30 a night. And then the cleaning fees may be $50. When you go to a hotel by yourself, you spending $150 a night.
Oh yeah.
And then they don't really charge you for anything else though. But a weekend it's $300 right there when you can go to an Airbnb for 2 days and be like $70.
Yeah, no doubt. So. Which is a huge savings. That's definitely a good hack.
And you can book it anytime sometimes too. That's what's good.
Yeah.
Like I had a Airbnb that I booked on accident like the week after I was supposed to get there. You know what I mean? Like I took a flight to Seattle and I accidentally booked the flight the week after booked the Airbnb the week after and not the week of me
Oh,
getting there.
no.
And I was like, oh man, what I'm gonna do? Am I just gonna stay in this airport until, whatever? And I was like, no, let me see if Airbnb, somebody's written one. And somebody's written one that day. Like, it was at night too. It was like, check-in was like 9:00 p.m.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, that's super convenient. It cost maybe like $40 a night. I was like, okay, I could do that. And I just did that and took a lift there. And stayed
Oh,
there.
nice. That's convenient.
Yeah, it's just, people come up with these ideas to rent their house out, and it's perfect. And it's not, look at the pictures too. Don't just look at what you're getting into. But all Airbnbs, for the most part, have been good. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good to know. That's a good hat. Well, we've been chit-chatting about a lot of fun stuff here, some related to comedy. Well, I mean, it's all been related to comedy because we're talking about what we do when we're on the road and,
for sure,
the things we should bring with. But let's get into the bombing, and let me hear your story of your show, the show that you did that you thought, where you thought you bombed really bad, or it was a terrible show.
Oh man, terrible show. Let's do shows.
Plural. Shows plural.
This was probably back in like 2015, maybe 2018. It was right before I left Dallas. Like, I was planning on leaving Dallas and moving to Seattle at the time. I probably had a month left before I did it. I told a few people, but I don't know how the Improv found out. They found out that I was leaving. I knew some people up there too, though. Mm-hmm. I might have told them on accident, don't remember. But they was like, hey, you should come host this weekend. It's the last weekend here. I was like, why not? It's the last weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm about to leave, 2 weeks from now. Why not? So I get there, and I'm booked to host, and there's two other comics, and then the headliner, who is TK Kirkland. And I was like, all right, cool. That's fine. And I go, I remember the first show. I don't like hosting. I'll be honest with you. I do it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. It doesn't come off on stage like I don't like hosting and like that. It's just, I'm not the high energy that they want a host to be.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It's definitely a specific energy.
Yeah, and I appreciate those that know how to host. Those that know how to host or even want to host, I always give them a shot because I don't want to do it. But if somebody actually wants to do it, go for it. But anyway, that's probably just probably like 8 years in comedy or some shit like that. And I go up to host, and I tell this is on a Wednesday. They start from a Wednesday to last show's on a Sunday. So I go up to host, and I tell my first joke, and it kind of get a laugh, not really even kinda like. It, like, you hear a giggle maybe, and I was like, all right, cool.
Response.
It got something, you know what I mean? And that was the height of that set.
Oh wow!
And it tanked from there. It like went straight downhill from there for the rest of the set. I'm doing 10 minutes, straight down bomb. Every joke, boom, just terrible. And when you the host and you bomb, it's different than when you like the feature or even the headliner. It's different. Definitely when you bomb really bad. It's different because you still have to go back up there. Mm-hmm. And so I bomb and I do terrible, and then I bring the next person up. He does well, right? And then I go back up, and as soon as I get back up, everybody stopped clapping. Like, it got quiet again, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. And so I just bring the headliner up. He does well, and then I go back up, everybody stopped clapping again. And I was like, this is... Like, I mean, like, it's like they all agreed to stop clapping at the same time. Like, they just stopped clapping.
Collectively, we're like, we don't like this comic. So.
Even when I said give it up for the feature and your headliner, like I was closing out the night, give it up for your feature, your headliner, they were not, like, with it. I was like, oh,
like,
okay,
no
wow.
thanks.
All right, cool. So then the next day, I go back, because I'm hosting the whole weekend. The next day, I go back, and same thing happens again, right? This time, this is a Thursday, I'm hosting again. And I tell one of the jokes, the same joke that I opened with the previous night, that got a giggle or whatever, didn't get anything. And I remember specifically looking to the left, looking to the front, and then looking to the left again and seeing this lady like shake her head like, no, this ain't it. This is not for you. Like, she literally like mouthed that. I could tell. She's like, this is not, you shouldn't be doing this.
Oh,
like,
wow.
It was that kind of vibe. I was like, wow, okay, all right.
Ouch.
And it tanked from there again. But I do remember, like, there was one joke. I don't remember what the joke was. But it was, like, farther in the set. Maybe toward the end or something. That got, like, a little giggle or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And I did the same thing happened again. I bring the feature up. claps. That happened. You know, that whole thing happened again. Same with the previous night. And I'm sitting there, and I remember when the headliner went up on Thursday, and I went to go sit at the bar, and I was just sitting there because I had to wait 45 or whatever. So I was sitting there, and I'm thinking, like, I got to get him. Like, there's no way I can just, like, this is my last week here. There's no way I cannot get a good set out of this week. There's no way. This is impossible. So the next day comes, which is Friday. It's 2 shows on a Friday. And the headliner puts me to the side. He's like, look, man, I saw your sets, and I didn't want to fire you. But, so what I end up doing is, you're not going to host tonight. You're going to do a guest spot tonight. So you're going to do like 7. I was like, all right, cool. That's fine. I appreciate that as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fine. I get it. You know, it's his show. Cool. You want to have a good show? I understand it. So he's bringing his own host this time.
Yep.
And
at least, you know, he could have very easily been your fired.
Yeah, he got rid of me. Yeah,
that's cool that he's like, you know what? He saw that you would probably do better as a guest spot.
Yeah.
So
he thought wrong. It was that first show, dude. I told the first joke got a little bit again, and then it just tanked from there again. I maybe told one more other joke that maybe got a little giggle or whatever, and it just tanked. And I was like, what is going on? This is so, like, what's up? And I got off stage, and then the other comics went up, and they all did fine. And I went to go sit at the bar, and I was sitting there thinking, like, I got one more show on Friday, today. I mean, I said today in my head. Friday's second show. Yep. Friday's second show was never really always, you know, the worst show to have. But I've been having bad shows anyway. So I was like, okay, let's see if we can pull this out of here. You know what I mean? Maybe I might have a second show Friday and it's good. You know what I mean? Randomly. And that was a negative again. Like, I would tell the first joke and get a giggle. The second joke wouldn't. And then it just go down from there. And you would hear small things. You could see facial expressions, if anything, of people like shaking their head or like not even paying attention or talking during the set, which was a whole deal. I'm only doing 7.
Yeah.
I can't even make it through the 7, yo. So I was like, what is, this? It terrified me at that point. I was like, this is 4 shows in, and I'm already, to me, I almost got fired pretty much.
Well, yeah, you got demoted. Even though he gave you the guest spot, you got demoted.
I was like, there's no, come on, man.
You're on your way out.
I'm done tonight, I guess. This is it. I'm bombing 7 minutes. I can't even do that. And I go back to the bar while he's up, and I was like, I gotta get this crowd. There's no way that it was something about it that was like really bugging me. Mm-hmm. To the point to where it's like, I have to figure this out. Saturday comes, there's 2 shows Saturday and then 1 Sunday, and I was like counting down. I was like, I got 3 more shows to do. Let's try to knock this out, man. Let's try to figure out what's going on. So what I did was I went up on Saturday first show, and I mixed up the jokes. Like what I closed on, I opened with. What I closed on Fridays and stuff, I opened with, and I tried different jokes within there and try to figure them out. And I noticed it's one of the Saturday shows. I don't remember what Saturday show it was. But I noticed the pattern. I noticed that my opening parts of these jokes work. Mm-hmm. Like Saturday, they were working. Like I would open, like the first 2 lines in the joke would work, and then the rest of it would just like not work at all.
So it was like your setup was working.
My setup was working, but the punches weren't. And I was like, all right, what can I do? Second show Saturday, I tried it again, and I mixed up the order again. Setup's working, punches not. I was like, all right, cool. You know, I'm gonna figure this out tonight. Tomorrow, which is Sunday, I'm coming back for the last show. There's no way I'm not gonna be able to have this done. I have to get this crowd before I get out of here. This can't be the last show that I do in Dallas. There's no way I can't go out like this.
If this is how I go out, they'll never let me come back.
Never let me come back.
They're gonna be like, good riddance. We're glad you left.
No matter how many friends I got working up there, there's no way,
like,
dude.
Yeah, you come back and they're gonna be like, yeah, but you remember your last time you were here? Sorry, buddy. I know, I love you, but.
So I remember that last night was a Sunday. Sunday show was 8:00. And I was like, this is it. This is all I got. This is the last time I got to get this crowd. I had 7 minutes. I had like I was doing my setups. My setups were working, but my punches weren't. So I literally took all my setups and I put them in a set. And at that time, I had to fill 7 minutes. But the setups that I've been using all weekend, I was like, I'm gonna take all those and put that in a set. It probably came out to like 4 minutes, something like that. And I was like, I gotta fill out the rest of this time. So what can I do to fill out this time? I can either pander, let it be, you know what I mean, or just throw some small little tidbits in there and make it work. I was like, I figured out when I'm up there because I have to fill it out because they might not want me to say anything. They may just want the setups, and then I do a facial expression or whatever the fuck, and it just works. So I just got to figure it out. So I remember going up there. My friends were actually at this show too. I had some friends up there, and I went up there and I did my setups. I ended up stretching out the setups. Like I say one line, I pause a little bit for like a second, say the other line, and I just did that. The laughter carried it to about 7 minutes. Actually, I did way better than I thought I was gonna do. I did way better than that one show that whole weekend, right? I was like relaxed.
You had some redemption.
Yeah. I was relaxing and stuff. I was on stage. This is only 7 minutes though, right? And so I get off stage, and I remember getting on stage, and I did well. I did okay. For my stand, I did okay.
Well, compared to the rest of the weekend.
I did amazing compared to the rest of the weekend. Amazing. I remember getting on stage and I went to the bar, and one of the bartenders, I believe, was Jacob still there? I ain't gonna drop no names. Somebody was there, I think the management or something. A friend of mine, he came up to me, he gave me this picture, and it was me on stage like the previous night. And I was struggling. I could see it on my face a little bit. I could remember what I was feeling.
Yep.
And he was like, I'm going to hang this picture up on the improv wall. I was like, no, come on, man. Come on, dude. No, I don't. He was like, will you sign this? I was like, no, man. That picture this weekend, out of all the weekends you pick, this is the one you want on the wall? Oh, my God, dude.
Oh, man. That's so cruel.
So that picture, but the thing was like you go to that improv, there's a lot of pictures on the wall of comics.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
it was like normal, local comics would be up there. And I never had my picture up there.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there like, this is the picture you picked, dude? Like out of all this.
No, exactly.
What are we doing
all
here,
the times
man?
that I've been here, this is the one.
Man? This is the one?
Where you see the fear in my face because I know what's happening.
It was so bad, dude.
Where you see it in my face that I'm questioning every decision I made that led me to this very moment. That's the one.
The Taken picture? I go in there and be like, I bombed that night hardcore.
It's like
man.
every time you go back now and you see your picture in there, it's just a constant reminder. I remember that weekend.
Remember that weekend. Oh, it was so bad, dude. And that was it was the first time in a long time that I was afraid of performing.
Oh yeah,
because consistently bombing like that, you think Wednesday was gonna be just a fluke, and then Thursday, but it being a consistent thing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you're like, I don't even want to go up right now. You kind of start to wish that it's almost to the point where I wished he did fire me.
Yeah, right. Where you're just like, well, then I don't have that pressure.
Yeah, it was like I'll feel bad that he did because it'd be the first time I ever got fired. I've never been fired from a job, so this would be the first time I ever get fired in my life in general.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, but he didn't, and I definitely appreciate him for that because it made me try to figure out that crowd by the end of the week.
Now, do you think because you were trying to figure out what happened, and, you kind of figured that your setup seemed to be working better than your punchlines, which, so you try to change things up, and I don't know the headliner, so I don't know what, is it maybe part of it was his fan base? Because sometimes, sometimes that happens where you have a comic that's a well-known comic come into a club, and they have a fan base that loves them. They're there for them, but their particular brand of comedy isn't your brand of comedy.
Right,
so as the opener, it's like, oh well, it's not that they don't like you; they just don't like your comedy.
Right,
and there's nothing you can do about that in that situation because they like insert headliner's brand of comedy, and you don't have that synergy.
I definitely feel that was a thing, but to me, I didn't care.
Well, yeah,
I gotta figure this out. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It was just like, okay, cool. If my sense of humor isn't your sense of humor, I'm gonna still figure out how to make it work. I gotta figure this out. And then, it was a process. It was a great process to me, just figuring out how to do it. The only bad thing about it is that I that bugged me that it took me that long to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you're doing one-nighters, you don't have that much time. You don't have
no.
3 days to figure it out. You got one night, and you got to do it right that one night. And after that, I think I had because I tend to bomb and not remember when I do it.
Yeah, because we're tuning it out.
Yeah, I tune it out. I'm
Black
like,
that
fuck,
out.
yeah.
It's funny because I had a similar experience is what you're talking about where I was featuring at a comedy club in a casino, and it just didn't seem like the whole weekend I just couldn't. And granted, I know there's other elements like
casino. Man.
Well, yeah, because one, you have people who have lost all their money at the comedy show because they have nothing else to do.
Smoking cigarettes, eating nachos.
And they got their free tickets, so they're just there.
Yeah.
And they're mad that they lost all their money. But no. But for whatever it was that weekend, I just couldn't get it together.
Yeah.
Like I just wasn't, and it wasn't like there was big packed sold out crowds or whatever.
Sure.
There was, I think maybe one crowd was like there's a really good crowd, and there was a lot. I think one show somebody was kind of like being loud and obnoxious at the bar and things like that. But either way, all weekend I struggled to try to figure out what this crowd wanted.
25 minutes.
Yeah, I just don't think I ever got there. I thought for sure after that weekend that booking company would probably not book me again.
Casinos are rough.
They are, but I would like to report that company still books me. So
there you go. Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it, Dan.
So yeah, they're still booking me. So it might not have been as bad as I thought it was. Because sometimes that's the other thing that happens. When we're on stage and we're going through those moments where we're to us we're bombing or we're not even not just we're not doing well because we're not getting the reaction we want from the crowd. We think we're doing terrible, and that's the energy we feel or whatever. And then after the fact, you go back and listen to the tape, and you're like, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought. There's still some stuff. They were still laughing at some stuff. They just weren't laughing as loud, and I just couldn't hear it because that happens too sometimes. Sometimes you get these rooms that have high ceilings, and instead of the laughter coming back to you, especially if you're on a stage that doesn't have monitors or things like that, you feel like you're bombing because you can't hear the audience.
Yeah.
And then you go listen to the tape, and then you're like, oh wait, I did get laughs. They just didn't come back.
Yeah, and I mean, we all want the laughs to come back.
We absolutely, because otherwise it's going to feel like you're bombing.
It's going to feel like a bomb. To me, if it feels like a bomb, I bombed. I remember this one time. This is back when I started doing stand-up. I probably was like, 4 years in, maybe less than that. I went to this open mic, man. And you better get 2 bomb stories out of me. This is crazy. And to an open mic.
Suddenly they're coming back. I open the floodgates, and now they're just pouring out.
Well, I recorded this one, dude. I was doing a recording every set. I was still in that stage of where I got to record every single set. It don't matter where it is, I got to do it.
Yep.
And I remember recording it, and I remember going up. My friend went up before me. He did well. And then this lady went up and did poetry. It was like a mixed open mic. She did poetry, and there was like a band behind her and stuff like that. They had a band in the open mic.
Oh, wow.
So like they would play music and bring people up. The band played music and then bring another person up type thing. And they played some music, and they brought me up, and I went up there, and I literally like looked at my set, and I was like, none of this is going to work. Like I was fine until I got up there. Like, this is, okay, I'm going to do this joke, I'm going to do this joke. And I literally walked up there, and I looked down at the paper, and I was like, none of this is going to work. And I would start a joke and then stop it. And I would start a joke and then stop it. And I probably did it like 3 times. I feel like, if I remember correctly, like somebody said something. I don't remember what they said, but it wasn't good. I knew that. And then the band behind me started to play the Sandman song from Apollo. You remember that song?
Oh.
They started to play that song, and I was like, fuck.
I'm done.
And I had to get off. And then I remember wanting to go back to that open mic. I was like, I have to go back to fucking try this again. I have to. And maybe like 2 months later, I went back, and that place was closed down.
Oh no! So then you couldn't even get that redemption.
Couldn't even go back.
Well, maybe if they didn't play people off, then it'd still be open.
Dude,
No.
I got that on tape, and I watch that every year.
Oh, do you?
Every year,
that's
man.
That's amazing. That's one thing.
Every year.
I try to do. So I have my very first time ever on stage on tape, and around my anniversary, I watch it.
It's so bad.
It is so bad.
It's so bad to watch us when we first started.
But one thing that's nice about it is it's a good like starting point to see, oh hey, I was there.
Right.
And even though I might not be where I want to be now, I can look at this tape from, 13 years ago, and I can say, wow, I've come a long ways. I did a lot since then, and I'm a way better comedian now than I was then. Even
progression.
If, you can see that progression, and I think that's
from
it's important.
Everything. From the jokes to what you wear.
Oh
my God, dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I wore a 3X jacket like the first time I went on stage. It was fucking. I don't know what I was doing.
Like I'm like looking at you right now.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
Wait,
what
were
are you doing?
Ever that big?
No, ever, not ever in life.
I'm like, wait a minute, because you're not a big dude.
It was. I was like, I watched that tape and I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, and your jokes, like, but granted, that night I did do kind of good. Like for the first time, I did pretty well. And then after that, I was just tanking. After that. Like it always is, I feel.
That's how I looked at it too. Like I wouldn't say that, people, well, how was your first set? Because a lot of times when first sets for people aren't that great.
Right.
Mine was fine. It wasn't terrible.
Right.
I got some laughs and it wasn't great. It's not like I crushed for the 6 minutes that I was up there. Yeah. But I also prepared to do this for like a couple months, and I did a bunch of writing, and I did a bunch of like editing and rehearsing and all the things to get ready to do this one open mic. So it ended up being fine. But even so, I can still look back and be like, oh. And talking about, what you wear on stage, you're so right on. You're so right on it. That is spot on. Because I look jacket, back. By the way. That's funny.
Oh my God.
Because I used to wear T-shirts that were probably funnier than I was on stage. Like I would wear like Family Guy T-shirts and like nerd funny shirts that had something funny on them. Yeah. Probably funnier than anything that was coming out of my mouth.
Got the meme shirts on.
Exactly. Wearing meme shirts before memes were a thing.
Oh my God. I went to open mic a week before. I knew I wanted to do stand up forever. I just never had the balls to do it until like I was 18. I just graduated, and I was like, this is something I always wanted to do my whole life. So I would go to school and I would write jokes, and they were like stupid stuff. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily. It was funny to me. That was what was crazy about it. But it was funny to me. And I remember going to an open mic one week. I didn't have a car at the time. My friend took me. Went to open mic. I saw this lady that was heckling one of the comics, and I was like, I want her at the open mic. That'd be kind of cool because I just talk back. And it'll make it work. And she didn't come to that first time I went up. I went up the next week. It was like 11, maybe 12 in the morning. I was last. There was like 6 people there. Went up, did my jokes, and it was cool. And then we just left. And I had to go. I was so excited because I didn't have to go to school, but I did have to go to work the next day. Oh. And my coworkers were there, and we were talking about it. And they were the first 2 people that ever saw me do stand up. My 2 coworkers, and I still talk to them to this day. So that's cool. That
is cool. And do you know? Do they like kind of pay attention to your progression? Do they like? Oh man, I remember when, and then they're like, wow, you're so amazing now.
I don't want them to remember, but I try to help. I want them to phase that out, man, but they do remember. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and it's cool to be able to talk to them about the steps it took for me to get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just dope to really be have friendships that last that long over the last 14 years. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and talking about process, and the progression of things, I'm curious about. I like to talk about writing on this show, like writing processes, and for most comedians, they don't have necessarily a very strict writing process or disciplined writing process, very loose or whatever. But I wonder about your writing process, because in addition to doing stand-up comedy, you're also a writer in the sense, well, not in the sense, you are a writer. You're a comic book writer and creator. Yep. You have your two comics that you have out. What is your writing process like for either comics or like joke writing? Like, do you sit down? This today I'm writing for an hour, or I'm writing for 2 hours, or I need to write X amount of pages, or what's the writing process for you?
Well, all of them run differently. Like the stand-up runs differently than the comic books, and the two comic books have their own process separately. But as far as the stand-up comedy goes, is definitely, when I first started, it was definitely like you need to sit down and focus and write for like, an hour or so. So I would have like sessions. First I would have like, I would get like a bunch of food, snacks and stuff, energy drinks or whatever soda I wanted. I would go all out, and I would go to a place called Movie Trading Company, and I would go get movies from there, and I would put on a movie. I would watch a movie, maybe 2 or 3 movies, and just have a good time. And then like either the next day and if I have enough time in that day and I'm still energized, I would get up and start writing, and I would just sit there and focus. I wouldn't do anything else. I might walk around the room a little bit, pace a little bit, but I'm in the room by myself. So I would just sit there, write for my maybe, 1, possibly even 2 hours, and then crash out, sleep, wake up, and I would finish my writing, and I would just do that. And I would probably my longest session was probably a good 4 hours.
Wow.
At one point. That was like that's probably like the longest session I've had of writing joke. Definitely when I started. Now it's changed to the point to where I do sit down and write, and I pace the room still, but it's not that long of a session because I write stuff down in my phone. I'm at work or, driving or whatever, and I think it out while I'm, doing something else. So if I'm cooking or, going on a walk or whatever, I have an idea in my head, and I would pan it out in my head, and I will mine it, act it out, all that stuff while I'm doing whatever I'm doing, or just picture in my head, well, what I do or how would I say it, what would my facial expression be, do all that stuff. And then I go to the paper and I write every word down, even though every word that I write down isn't necessarily in the joke. But I definitely write everything down.
Do you even put, like, when you're writing down your jokes like that, because you've thought it all out, facial expressions, maybe body language, do you put it in there kind of like a script? Or?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because I want to, I don't want to be that strict on myself, even though I already do hold myself pretty strict when it comes to my writing. I don't want to be too strict on myself. If I know for a fact that this facial expression will work, I'll probably write it in there. But for the most part, I just let the facial expression be. But I also when I started writing stand-up, my goal was to be able to do this forever. There was no, I want to be able to do this for, 10 years or I don't want to do movies or something. It was none of that. I want to be able to do stand-up for the rest of my life. So when I'm writing these jokes, I know that the setup and the punchline, the wording it's very important. It has to be the carry of the joke. 'Cause if I don't want to be, I'm not a high energy dude. And I don't want to be. I don't want to act like I am. I don't want to do none of that. So if I have to sit down in a chair and tell jokes, I want those jokes to be able to fucking kill, like every time.
Yeah.
And so, in that process, I still do it to this day where I'll write a joke and I will go up there and just tell it. No facial expression, no movements, just the wording of it.
Just to see how
that joke works. And then I add the decorations to it. I put your facial expression, all that stuff.
So you just go up, you do it as plain as you possibly can, just to see what the response is to the joke.
Yep.
And then, and that's a good lead into an evolution of the joke for you. What's the evolution for you as far as, you think of an idea, you're getting it, from thinking of an idea to it's going into my main set?
It's more of if I, either I'm at a show or I try it at a show, I just try it. Or if I go to an open mic enough times, Sometimes, honestly, sometimes you just know
Yeah.
that this is going to be something. Like you get a feeling. You've been doing, like, definitely if you've been doing it long enough, you just know that this joke
absolutely.
is something. I just put this in a set. I ain't got to worry about it. But some stuff you got to try from time to time just to see what's going on. So I go to the one open mic and I'll try it out, just the wording. And then I go to another open mic and I try the wording again. And then I go to one and just add the decorations on and see what happens. And then sometimes I used to have a super structured writing session where, like, I was in Dallas, so they had open mics 5-6 times a week, sometimes 2 a night. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I would say, let's say Wednesday was like the best open mic. Tuesday was just like a second best open mic or whatever. Monday was just a hangout spot. People just meet up, catch up through the week, and we do jokes, whatever. So, you know, it was a week like that. And so what I would do is I would write my jokes for the next week, and tell the jokes that I wrote last week on that week.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just be ahead of everything.
Yep.
And so Monday, it was just a weekend. I mean, Mike would just hang out, and I would go up there, and I would just tell the joke plainly, see what happens. Somebody laughs, cool. Tuesday, it would be a little bit more structured, but not done yet. But I knew Wednesday was the best open mic, so I had to get it done by Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So I'll go in there on Tuesday, try it out, a little bit more giggles. All right, cool. And I might do some facial expressions, maybe a little bit. You know what I mean? See how it works. All right, cool. Wednesday, I had it down. And I would go up there and I would tell the joke, and then I would have act outs if I was going to do it. I would have facial expressions if I was going to do it. And if it passed on Wednesday, I would go to a showcase on Friday and Saturday, which is at Backdoor Comedy Club in Dallas. And I would try the joke there. It was all clean comedy. I would try it there. And if it worked, it goes in the set. It's fine. And if it didn't work, it goes in the next week's set to try to figure it out.
To figure out how to fix it.
And I would do that for the next, 8 years. Mm-hmm. And well, actually Seattle too. So for the next 10 years of my career, I was doing that. And I try to write ahead. Mm-hmm. Try
to stay ahead. That's an interesting way to do it too. Like what you're writing this week, you're preparing for next week, and you're performing. You're performing different than what you're writing.
And that's the thing. I had to tell some of my friends this. It was like when they write topical things, when they write about topical things, even when I do topical things, you have to write both ways. So when people will talk about the election or whatever, if you're gonna come up with a joke about Democrats, you got to write something about whoever.
There's got to be balance.
Yeah, whoever. It's not necessarily about. For me, you got to write a joke. If you're going to talk about who's going to win, you got to write a joke for both people if they win. Like if the Democrats win, you got to write a funny joke about the Democrats winning. If the Republicans win, you got to have a joke ready for that. So I just wrote for both. Yep. You know what I mean? Regardless of who they vote, I didn't care who the crowd voted for. Somebody's going to get it regardless. Yep. Same thing with like relationships. If I was in a relationship, I had to get a joke ready to be about being in a relationship with this girl. And if we broke up, I always had a joke that was ready for when we broke up, if that was the case. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't the case, then I was able to take something from that breakup joke and put it somewhere else where it worked. So I just stay prepared for whatever. That was always my situation. One thing, write about it the opposite way, too. Just to make sure you cover your bases. So whatever happens. 'Cause in comedy, we don't have insurance. We don't have any of that shit. Yeah. So if it happens, it happens. Yeah. Like, you got to be ready for that joke-wise. This is what you do. So.
Yo, absolutely. You definitely have to be ready for that, whatever the opportunity might be.
And none of the girls in my relationships didn't like the breakup jokes. They didn't like that shit at all.
Well, of course they didn't.
It was funny though.
It's always funny to us.
Breakup jokes were great, man. Now I'm in a relationship. I'm I'm engaged and stuff. I can't tell none of this stuff no more.
Well, what you do is you just you take it and get it all on like tape or say tape, but you just record it and then put it out there.
Just leave it out.
Get out there, and then you don't have to worry about it. Now, you're up on stage, you feel like you're starting to bomb and lose the audience. In that moment, what goes through your mind, and how do you try to deviate to come back or to prevent it from going further?
Just goes right back to the writing process. I've always had quick one-liners. Mm-hmm. Always. So I would be doing a set, and if it's not going well, I had a one-liner ready. Like I always had, the thing is, I would write my set down, all the sets my jokes I was going to tell. And then on the side of that, I will always have like 4 or 5 one-liners in there on the side. So I'll be telling it, and if something didn't work, I'll throw a one-liner in there and it'll bring it back. And then I keep going. And if one of them didn't work, I'll throw another one in there and then keep it moving. Like it was always like that. I'll just stay prepared for it. You know, one-liners, they only take, not even a minute to tell. So you just quickly throw it out there.
15, 20 seconds.
They get it and they come right back, and then you keep it moving. You know.
Yep.
So that's how I always try to get them back anyway.
Go right for that. Go right for that save. That save with the one-liner.
You have no idea.
That's what's great about. No, I do have an idea.
Oh, what do you do? My bad.
It's like I know exactly, because that's kind of what I'll do too. Is if I start losing the audience, I'll I'll try to figure out the best. It's like, well, obviously this material ain't gonna work. How can I go a different direction? Oh, here's a one-liner I can throw out there.
Yeah.
Kind of get them back, and then
just get rid of that whole subject.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. That's what I'm saying.
There's a one-liner, get rid of that whole bit that you was telling.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, well, they didn't like that joke. They're not going to like the next 3. So let's throw in the audible. Here's this joke, and now we're going in a different direction.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just like riding. It's like riding a merry-go-round. You're just riding the merry-go-round, and then you just like jump off. You don't know where you're gonna jump off, but that's what happens.
Funny,
like
man.
Pulling out that one-liner is you jumping on the merry-go-round and then jumping
off. That's so funny. It's so true, man. Oh my god. Stand-up was like the only place I could be comfortable too, though.
Yeah.
Like I was always the quiet dude in the back. Never said anything. Silent, and just waited for me to go up. And it was always, and when I got up there, I was able to talk about whatever, So, that kind of played a role in the one-liners too, because when people would talk to me when I'm on stage, I just was able to reply back and make it into something. So that usually will work too, though. You know what I'm saying? If I had a joke that was not like tanking or whatever, the audience sometimes would work. I say sometimes, but I didn't want them to talk either. But when they did, it just worked out. You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, there's a few comics that like it when the audience interrupts. Mm-hmm. They're called improv comic. No.
Suggestions, please.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want that. As comics, I don't want that. But those few times that it happened, it was always like perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. If it happens and it works out, great. But yeah,
then you make a call back to that.
I'm not trying to encourage people. I don't want people to talk to me. That's why I wrote my jokes. I
didn't write these. They're not questions. They're jokes.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I didn't write this so I could come up here and not do that. Didn't do that so I could talk to you. So we're gonna start wrapping up. I do want to talk a little bit more about your writing process when it comes to the comic books, because you said that's even different than your stand-up. So I'm curious about that. Like how does that differ from your stand-up as far as like the discipline of writing?
So Just Us Cops, that specific book is a comic book about two cops to go around and pretty much arrest old cartoon characters for the most part. You change it up a little, but Just Us Cops is a sit down thing for sure. I sit down, type some pages out. I might walk away, go do whatever else, come back, and write again. Now, when I get done with this script, I might leave it alone for like 2 weeks. Or I leave it alone till I forget it, completely forget it. And then I go back to it and reread it and be like, I can change this to make it better. And I change it, add some jokes in there, and then pretty much I leave it alone. Because if you keep it, you're going to change it all day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's never going to get done. Away. And so that is literally the process of Just Us Cops. I'll go in and write some jokes, kind of like how I wrote jokes. It kind of is, kind of isn't. I leave it alone and then go back to it and make it work. And sometimes I would change, like, I want this character to be this. It's a whole thing. Now, T-Horror, on the other hand, is different because I don't write that until I think literally. And Just Us Cops, I don't think of this. I think of the story in the moment. Mm-hmm. T-Horror, I think about it when I'm somewhere else. Like I can, like this long 10-hour, this long job I got to do stuff. Yep. I'm probably gonna think of like 2 stories.
Yeah.
And I will pan it out and then I go write it. Like that story was sitting with me for like a good month, and I'm like, that is really good idea. That's a super good. Go write that, and I'll go sit down and I'll write that story out. Sometimes that does happen with jokes too, though. I would think of a joke, and if next week I still remember that joke, that means it's worth something, and I'll write that down. But there's two different processes. Just Us Cops was so much easier to write than T-Horror because it's just a process of just getting to it, getting it done, and having a good time doing it.
It sounds like it's more humor based as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's kind of already along the lines of writing comedy. So
100%.
Yep.
T-Horror is a completely different monster. I love that it's different. I love how different the writing process is. I love how different the stories and stuff is because I'm able to take my time with it, and that makes it so much better. And I also do the thing where I finish the script and I leave it alone for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then when I forget about it, I go back and read it again to make sure I still like it, and then I send it in to the artist.
Now, when you write these, when you're writing your scripts, do you write them like movie scripts or do you write them like the comic book scripts? Because I know like formatting these days doesn't matter as much. It seems like
it doesn't. But
they used to be very, very people used to be
mattered like hardcore.
People were sticklers about it, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
I didn't. They are structured like a movie script, mainly because I wanted. Just Us Cops was originally supposed to be a cartoon.
Oh, gotcha.
And I wanted it to be a cartoon so bad, but I was like, it's best if I make it a comic book because I can't afford a cartoon right now. So I took me some time to find me an artist. I found one when I was in Seattle, and that's when it started. I started making books after that, and then T-Horror was supposed to be a comic book, but I'm now moving more to it being like a mixture of stuff. American Horror Stories is one story for a season. Just T-Horror is going to be more like a Tales from the Crypt, but it's going to be everything's going to look completely different each show. That was at least the idea that I had.
Oh, okay. So it's stylistic.
Yeah, style. So some might be a cartoon, some might be clay animated, some might be actual comic book panels going by, some might be live action. Like I wanted to incorporate everything and try to make something different that people can remember just based off the style of what it was. And it's something that was because people get hooked on looks of something and not necessarily what it's doing or what it's saying, and it kind of bugged me. So I want to change it up every time so you won't be hooked on a look. Granted, I want it to look great, but I don't want you to be hooked on that look.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure, I totally see what you're saying there. You see that a lot, especially with comic books, where people like I'm probably guilty of this at some point because I'm an avid comic book reader, and I have a particular artist. I really like their style. I love, it helps that the person who writes a lot of the stories that he does a lot of the artwork for is one of my favorite writers. So I'm still reading the material, but the artwork, if I didn't like the stories, I could see myself still wanting these books because of the art, and just because of the style. And
that was one of the things that was, when I wrote the comic books, I had to specifically be like, I want each book to look different. Just Us Cops didn't start how it looks now. I had an artist that was in Canada. She drew it, and she had to do some stuff for like Disney or something. So she stopped working with me, which was completely fine. But I had that struggle of finding a different artist to adapt to that. But I found the artist I'm with now, Imai, and he sent me a style back, and I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Let's just change it up. And we just changed it up, and he's been doing it ever since, which is cool. The thing about these artists is that they can do different styles if you ask them to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They got like 6 different styles.
Yeah.
Imai has like 6 or 7.
Yep.
And so he does the Just Us Cops, and he does the first T-Horror book, which I'm sure he's going to do some more of those. I have to talk to him still. But I found a new artist for the next T-Horror that's coming out in October, and this dude is incredible as well. And to me, that's some of the fun stuff about doing comic books.
Oh, yeah.
Just the different submissions that you get.
Yep.
Because you just ask, and they just send portfolios in, and it's just message after message after email, just people's artwork. I mean, granted, you have to tell someone no.
Well, yeah.
but looking for the Just Us Cops artist, the one that was going to do the art for that, and having all those submissions in, I was like, I want to work with all y'all. So I got to figure out a way to work with all y'all. Because Just Us Cops was originally going to be changed the style of each book, but I figured Ema could do that and stick with that. T Horror can be the one that changes each style, because I wanted each story to cater to the style that's being told. So it's going to work like that.
And when you're looking for artists, now I'm just curious, where are you posting to try to find, where are you putting out your solicitations for artists? Like when you're looking for an artist?
That's a Facebook post, and usually, sometimes I meet them at shows, actually. I meet them at shows. Some artists give me their card at shows and stuff like that, because I might mention that I'm, because sometimes when I'm writing, like when I'm writing a comic book, like, T Horror or something, I always say, toward the end of the show, I might mention that I'm looking for artists or something like that. We're working on comic books and stuff, and I get artists at shows, so they give me their card or their Instagram and stuff like that. So I find them like that. But for the most part, I find them on Facebook, and I'm in tons of comic book artist groups, and I just like post that I'm looking for an artist. And messages just all day.
Oh yeah,
like,
I'm sure.
I mean, all day, to where I have to go back to the post and delete the post so they can stop sending me stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's always a good sign.
Dude, it's so cool, man. I wish I had the money to just work with every single one of them.
Yeah,
because they all like super talented, but you also have to be careful in that sense, because you don't know who to trust. I would say this: if you're gonna do that, don't pay up front and have a contract.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do not pay up front. Don't give them half. Don't do none of that. If you want to be able to have this, once you get one person to do it, and it works out perfectly fine, have that person vouch for you through another person for that artist. If you find another artist that you want to work with that you don't want to pay up, have that artist message that artist and be like, this dude, he's legit. Like, he get it done.
Yep.
And then make it work like that. But yeah, I had a bad experience with like 3 years ago, where I paid a dude half, and the book was nowhere near what I wanted it to look like. Now, all the stuff he sent to me, the submissions that he sent to me, it looked nothing like that. It looked horrible, and I was like, "What is this?" And I didn't even talk to him after that.
Oh wow!
I paid him half up front. I just like, dude, just go. It's fine. Just take it. It's fine. I'll take the loss. I don't want to work with you anymore. I just let it be. And he still tried to hit me up to get work to this day.
Oh wow!
He sent me like new submission stuff. I'm like, dude, you're done, bro.
That's ballsy.
Nothing you can do, man. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, to be like, I'm not, to do a terrible job and then still try to get that work.
Also, on that contract, the details on that got to be important. Mm-hmm. You got to make sure that they have, what they're doing, how many pages, how much it's going to cost, when you want it done.
Yeah.
They got to have check-in dates where you do like a weekly check-in or something like that, and also know what they're doing. So if they just doing line work, they just doing line work. You write that on there. If they doing all of it, some artists can do all of it, which is amazing, by the way. Lining, coloring, drawing it, shading, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them do all of it. Make sure it's in that contract. Make sure that you also own the rights when that artist is done, like in that contract. Like this stuff, I own the rights to this still. You don't own any of it. It's mine. I can do whatever I want with it. You want to make sure you have that too. And then you send that to them. Make sure they sign it. And then they're going to send you a copy back. You sign it, and you send them a copy back. It's all fair.
Oh, yeah.
Good business is good business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean? And then this applies to comedy in the sense that, if you're doing corporate gigs, contracts, all this stuff applies.
100%. 100%.
100%. All right. Well, like I said, we're going to wrap up. This has been great. I like to go out more positive. What's been one of your favorite gigs that you've done so far? It doesn't have to be the best gig you've ever done, but just a gig that was one of your favorites.
Recently, let's do that I can think of. Off the top of my head, I wish I remember the headliner's name. I was at the Comedy Fort not too long ago. I think his name, I don't want to mess up his name. But I remember it was fun because I went to the candy store down the street. Me and Lizzie went to the candy store, and we got like some Warhead soda. I don't know if you ever had Warhead sodas before.
I've not had Warhead soda, but
amazing. All right, sour soda. If you never had it, go check it out. It's dope. We got blue raspberry, and we literally just hanging out. It wasn't necessarily even a show. It was a show, but the green room was where it was at. We was hanging out, talking, drinking this soda. We was just having a good time. And to me, I learned from a George Clinton song that the show really starts in the green room. When I heard that, I forgot what song that is. When I heard that, I was like, how is that even true? And now I understand why he says that. The real show is in the green room, and then you go on stage, and then you do a show, and then you go back to the green room and you have a great time. Like that's that's the structure of the show. Man.
That's how it should be for sure.
That was one of those shows. It was fun. We got to talk and hang out and shoot the shit. It was always so. Yeah, that was recent. I can't remember everybody that was on that show, but it was
fantastic. All right, final question for you is we have the Get Pumped playlist. It doesn't have to be a song that gets you pumped for comedy, but what's a song that gets you pumped?
What's the song that gets me pumped? Oh, man. What's a song that gets me pumped?
Get you ready to do some writing.
That's different. That's different music. That's different music.
Well, pumped. For,
all right. I thought you meant comedy.
I said doesn't have to be for comedy. Song that gets you pumped for whatever activity you're about to do, whether it's writing, exercise, running, whatever you.
That's a good question, dude. Because
read a comic book. I don't know.
Oh, that's a great question. My favorite artist is Sade. It's probably a Sade song. But MF Doom, you can't fail with Doom either. Like, it's so much, man. DMX, some DMX song probably as well.
What's the song?
Let me see what's on my top 5 on my phone. Hold on a second.
He's got to consult. He's got to consult.
What's on my list right now? I'm gonna read the top 5 on my most playlist on there. Okay. Number 1, you got Walking in the Rain by DMX. Bone vs. Everything by Bizzy Bone. Ball Skin by MF Doom. Hold Me Down by DMX. And Absolutely by MF Doom and Madlib.
All right, Walking in the Rain?
Yeah, Walking in the Rain, DMX.
All right, there it is. There we got it.
Oh, man.
This has been fantastic. Where can people get your comic books?
That's a great question. I want to change the answer. Go ahead.
No, we got it. I wrote it. It's
cool.
in paper now. No, I was just saying, where can people find your comic books? Where can they find out more about you? Tell the people.
Everything is on tncomedy.net. That's my website, official website. It's where you find the comic books at. It's where you find my stand-up at. It's where you find my shows at. Everything is on there. But you can also find me on any social media under TN Comedy. My Twitch stream. I stream a lot. Actually, I'm going to be streaming a lot more. You can find that on TN Comedy as well, under TN Comedy. And then my YouTube is TN Comedy 1. Somebody took TN Comedy. I don't know who did. Disrespect. Nah. But TN Comedy 1, you can find my streams on there, my stand-up on there as well. And yeah, you just get at me.
Perfect. Well, thanks for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's dope.
This has been a Dan Bublitz comedy production. Roar.